Hola bandidos, ¿cómo estamos? Welcome to Mel's Magic Official. I'm Magic Mel, this is Charles, and our new aggregate, Murphy. Welcome to episode 12 of season 12. Big numbers, guys. And wow, can you feel those energies moving through us? Pluto through in Aquarius. I'm not an astrologer, but honestly, this past week, I had to go through somewhere. I'm still going through an ego death that makes me shake my foundation. I'm like, what the hell is going on in the skies up there? Until, friends pointed out, well, it's Pluto and Aquarius. I'm like, damn, Pluto, planet of death and rebirth. And in this quickening process of ascension, the universe nos está apretando, is squeezing all of us. It's like, you gotta let go of what's no longer serving you. And I'm like, wow, it's nonstop. I also made the mistake, no, I'm kidding, of setting the intention this year that I would like to surrender to the cosmic will, the divine will, meaning step aside when a situation arises, don't act out of my personal preference, but surrender into what is in front of me. It's a little bit like the surrender experiment of Michael A. Singer. In fact, not just a little bit. I was inspired by the book. I read it over Christmas, and I'm like, you know what, Magic Mel? I'm up for a challenge. Let's practice the surrender experiment. And oh, the moment you set an intention, the universe listens. So I've had experience una tras otra since literally the new year, which asked me to surrender. I must say though that with each surrendering, an unexpected blessing came. However, it's accelerating, it's augmenting. What the universe is asking from me each time is really letting go. And it's not comfortable. This goes hand in hand with the topic of shadow work, shadow integration. I know a few of you filled up my little survey I put out there. Thank you so much for letting me know what you guys would like to hear me talk about more. Because another intention with this year is to have this more of a two-way stream, at least, if not more, to open up the conversation with other people, not just me monologuing here. In any case, shadow integration. There was something I read yesterday or something I heard. No, wait, it was Matt Kahn. If you don't know him, I'll look him up. He's such a beautiful, intuitive speaker. It's just like jaw dropping for me. My ears go like that. My entire being just is in awe when he speaks because his words are so powerful. Look him up, Matt Kahn. And he said, the goal is not enlightenment. Enlightenment is the start. And what is enlightenment anyway? It is shedding the light of our loving awareness onto all of our aspects, because we're all aspects of God, the divine cosmic being, no? Shedding the light of, in our ecosystem, we're multidimensional, we're not just this one interface. We have the inner child, we have so many aspects in us. Shedding the light of awareness, especially on our rejected parts, on the denied aspects of us, of the shunned parts of us, which our ego, my ego, prefers not to see as part of itself. Hence, it's in the shadow, no? We're not really aware of it. So enlightenment is this process of being in the light, coming from love, and allowing all emotions, all aspects of us to surface and to decide, does this serve me or not? And I would like to give my personal experience this past week, because as you know here in Mel's Magic Official, I'm not just the general tarot reader. I'm sharing with you my spiritual unfolding, my journey. And so far it's been 12 seasons. Quite something. We're just getting started. So this past week, aspects that I was unconscious of came up into my consciousness through my dreams. Dream analysis, working with your dreams is so rich and beautiful, such a beautiful tool to work with your subconscious and the collective unconscious, because there's only so much our conscious tip of the iceberg can process in the day. I mean, c'est normal. No? Imagine the amount of information we are bombarded with, especially nowadays. tip of the iceberg is the conscious mind, like about 4%. The rest, 96, is the unconscious. We can't be aware of everything. We automate things, it's otherwise too much for our conscious mind to process. So we automate things, habituated patterns, beliefs, so and so. That's like the subconscious. And then we have the unconscious, which is a whole other beast. I'm personally fascinated by the process because I enjoy this process of self-awareness. I want to become aware of all of the aspects of me. It's part of this Jungian journey of individuation, coming home to yourself, integrating all of these aspects, reclaiming all of these aspects. So in this past week, an aspect of mine, a rather stingy aspect, I'd say, and control freaky aspect of me, maybe two aspects, control freak and scarcity mindset programmed aspect in me that's been conditioned into me, from family dynamics, really reared their head and came out in a dynamic with another person. And these aspects become especially loud when you're about to release them. It's like a part of you that's like, you have the fire going, you can't see it. It's kind of in the fire. No, I don't want to die. I'm going to throw a tantrum. And it's then that you can become really aware. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I am projecting something. I'm creating a situation with another person that is bringing out the scarcity mentality, that's creating from scarcity, and that is bringing out the control freak in me. And I ask myself, does this still serve me? So, light of my awareness, does this still serve me, this aspect? Why is it even there? I also like to encourage you to be curious, to investigate, to not judge those aspects that you deem are not likable. Or, for example, in my case, I'm like, I don't want to admit that I have this control freak and stingy aspect in me. But I said, okay, welcome to the arena. Welcome to the stage. Let's have some tea. Let's get to know each other. I want to have a conversation with you. And I want to see if you still serve me. That is shadow integration. It's the opposite of rejecting aspects of yourself back into the shadow, denying, rejecting, suppressing, looking the other way. Because what is rejected only grows. It's the metaphor of the wolf, that we shun into the cellar. The more we shun him, the louder he gets, the more violent he gets. That's why an unintegrated shadow becomes so dangerous, because we project it outwards. The shadow doesn't go anywhere. Just because it's in the shadow outside of the light of our awareness doesn't mean it does not exist. And it's better, it's safer, it's more responsible for us to interface with our shadow through our ego, through the conscious part of ourselves that decides, through the self actually, that decides, okay, does it still serve me or not? Or how can we cooperate? Rather than me pretending you don't exist and it's just festering and getting louder and creating an explosion and sabotaging me out of the shadow. So I came face to face with those two shadow aspects this week, and I'm asking myself, does this still serve me? And the ego part in me is like, yes, but so and so, and it justifies, and can't you see the other person's only looking out for themselves? And I'm like, hey, you're thinking the same. What you see in the other person is a projection of your own belief. I'm talking to myself. So I'm like, does this still serve you, Magic Mel? Is this coming from love and from abundance, or are you just limiting yourself? Because the ego can only replay scenarios from the past. It can only project into the present what it has already experienced in the past. Familiar pattern. And that's where surrender is this courageous act, because surrendering does not mean giving up. It means allowing, stepping into the unknown and allowing the flow of life, your intuition, your higher self to guide you into a new field of possibilities. It's literally up leveling. It's not comfortable. None of this is comfortable, which is another thing I want to talk about. Maybe it's just me, but I have an impression like, ooh, Magic Mel, people think Magic Mel, I have this magical life, everything's going rosy all the time. Well, that I put on the spectacles of abundance usually, but I'm only human. I have my ego aspects. Of course, I'm only just human. But it takes this internal work, guys. The more you integrate your shadow, the more you heal yourself, which means what? Shedding the light of your awareness, of your love, to unify all these fragmented aspects of yourself and bringing them back into unity, self, into love. That's when you raise your frequency. Because frequency is what? It's the higher, it's the good stuff. Freedom, love, bliss, joy. And how can we access that if we're weighed down by guilt, by unconscious wounding, by rejected parts? We've got to work with our shadow. We've got to look into the shadow, look into the closet, look at the skeletons and air the closet so we can be lighter. And it's not a comfortable process. It's much more comfortable to repeat the familiar patterns of your ego, the programming that you've been given, to not question yourself, to not question the world, to not question other people, to not question your accountability in the creation of scenarios, taking accountability of how your own beliefs, your own actions, your own behavior influences and impacts a situation, a relationship with another person. It's easier to blame outside of us instead of looking within. So freedom has a price. It has a price of responsibility, because the more we heal, the more we raise our vibration, the more access we have to our psychic powers. And the universe made that access difficult, has like VIP bouncers for a reason, because if we all access our superpowers without being responsible of what it means to use them, then, we're already pretty much creating havoc in the world, aren't we, unconsciously? So it takes the consciousness that I am you, that we're all part of this body of God. We're all like neurons of the universal mind coming to life now, becoming aware of each other, becoming aware that we're all part of each other. We're just different aspects. So accessing our psychic powers requires us to step into unity consciousness, which means knowing that we're all connected, that we're all one being actually, in different avatar bodies. And that what I do onto you, I do onto myself. And again, that's a notion or a phrase I heard in the past, and it sounds pretty cool, but to actually really let that trickle in is another thing, So for example, in my situation here with this other person, I'm like, do I like how I'm treating the other person? Because the way I'm treating the other person is like how I'm treating myself. And the other person is a mirror of my own, what I'm emitting. Do I enjoy my creation in that sense? If not, how can I change my perspective? And by changing my own energy, I will change how I show up in the situation, the relationship, and I will change the dynamic. That's the accountability. No. So how do you integrate your shadow? It takes self-awareness. It's being aware that if you're triggered, raw emotions, jealousy, you're annoyed, you reject something, that's like very fertile ground to be curious. Be the detective of your own shadow. Be inquisitive. Say, why did I react this way? What is underneath this reaction? What core belief am I holding and is driving me to act and speak like that? And does this belief still serve me? That's one way of shadow work. And the shadow work is not in rejecting that belief and cursing it and telling it to bugger off. No, I look at the belief. My belief was kind of entitlement, like there's not enough, like other people, I can't just give. There has to be something in return. It's kind of this transactional thing, or which is actually underneath is rooted in there's not enough, like, I don't have enough to share. That's scarcity mentality. And then I looked even deeper. Well, where does that come from? It comes from my family, my upbringing. And then I looked deeper. Well, where does that come from? Well, they grew up in a context that made them believe that due to their context. And that was fair enough. That's valid. I would believe the same had I grown up in the circumstances that, in this case, my mom grew up in. So it's going deeper and deeper and deeper in understanding and bringing love to the situation, bringing love to the belief, bringing love to the core belief, bringing love to to the circumstances that created the belief, loving yourself for having acted out on that belief, forgiving yourself, which is part of self-love, and then alchemizing it and saying, looking at the belief and saying, thank you. You have had your purpose in the past because maybe you tried to keep me safe and protect me, but you're actually holding me back now. You're not aiding me in ascending and growing and amplifying and expanding. So I thank you, belief, and I love you. I let you go with love, or I integrate you with love. You can now rest in peace. That for me is shadow integration. Looking at your triggers and digging deeper. And I've said this before, the shadow is not, let's not apply these labels of good and bad. The shadow also holds immense power. Another major shadow aspect that I had repressed and denied was my own power. Because in the past, due to my own upbringing, trauma, etc. context, I embodied the damsel in distress, the power. I was in powerlessness. I was choosing powerlessness because I didn't see my own power. I wasn't aware of it. And again, awareness is consciousness, is light, is love. I was not self-aware enough that I was actually powerful. And where was the power? In my shadow. I had rejected it. So the shadow holds immense creative power also. Vitality, zest for life, passion. It's very raw emotions and energies, but if we know how to ride that dragon, it can vitalize your life. So personally, I love the topic of shadow integration. Let me know in the comments box if you have any more specific questions, because I would like to dive in deeper. Or maybe I'm actually going to hold a course or a workshop. Like some of you know, you've been to the workshop I held last Thursday. It was very successful. My intention with the workshop was to introduce the group of participants in using their own intuition through tarot cards. That was my intention, and apparently it worked. I got great feedback. So I'm realizing I want to do this more instead of this monologue, which has its purpose, I guess, but I want to interact more with you guys. So again, if you have ideas, yeah, because you're receiving all of my output here, if you also have ideas, I would appreciate you sharing that with me so I can create content that is more suitable for a two-way dialogue at least, or more. Vale, bandidos? So if you've been feeling the environmental intensity of this shift of Pluto and Aquarius, I hear you, I feel you. I've gone through it this week too, and I've known I know quite a few people who it really hit them hard. So don't take it personal in the sense that nothing is wrong with you. It's hitting all of us. And that's something to become aware of too. No, we are not just individual islands floating alone here. We are intrinsically connected with the cosmic rhythm, the larger forces. And for me, that's why it's very interesting to, yes, pull the readings on you because I pull on the energy, but also to, check out astrology. It's not my forte, being super honest here. But I can pull on the energy and I can see how it reflects also through my own experiences, because nothing is separate. Everything is connected. What's happening outside is happening within you. And what's happening within you is happening outside. Va, bandidos? So this is already 20 minutes. I'm going to just leave it here. Let me know what you feel and think. I'm going to pull a reading in the next episode. Va? But this is a powerful note. I'm pleased with this to end season 12. It's literally like talking about the zodiac. Now I've done like a year in terms of seasons with Magic Mel. Thank you for being with me on this journey. You know I appreciate every one of you. You know I'm building Magic Mel and the Love Rebel Tribe on my Patreon channel, where I pull extra content for you, Oracle Mondays and TGIF energy updates on Fridays. And yeah, you can support my channel there by being a patron. How about that? How cool is that? You know that I'm a tarot reader. I do private readings, guys. Message me. Check out my website. And I do coaching, although I don't like to call it coaching anymore. I'm a spiritual guide. So what I can help you with, for example, is becoming aware of your shadow, because we need reflections. Yeah? and I can hold a specific frequency and awareness container for you to work through your own stuff. Yeah? So message me if you're interested. Details are description box below. And what else? Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. It helps my channel grow, guys. Et voila. Stay tuned. And let's pull a reading for you in the next episode. Fresh with, I don't know if I'm going to go season 13. Now we're going to close this cycle, 12 seasons in a cycle, and start cycle number 2. We go back to 1. We go back to 0 because I like to play with the Fool energy. Okay? Ciao, banidos.